I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a case in an alleged murder plot filled with sex, deception, BDSM, and extreme violence. A plan so twisted you might wonder how anyone could even think it up and target the mother of your own 4-year-old child. Here's the story. In Herndon, Virginia, a shadowed conspiracy lurks behind a manicured suburban facade. Brendan Banfield, a former IRS investigator, is accused of orchestrating a chilling double murder of a man named Joseph Ryan and his own wife, Christine Banfield. Prosecutors allege he lured Joseph Ryan to his home early in the morning to make him appear as an intruder, coming to kill Christine with a knife. Banfield allegedly shot Ryan, then stabbed his wife with help from his lover, the family au pair, Juliana Magalhaes. Juliana was the first to be arrested and charged in the case, but then she admitted her guilt and will be the star witness in the case against the husband, Brendan Banfield, who claims his innocence. What is the truth? Who killed who? And why did they do it? That will be up to a Virginia jury to decide. And that Virginia jury will begin hearing evidence this month. Okay. This case, bizarre, twisted, and the question is, what is the truth and what is happening here? So there's a lot of layers to peel back. Let's bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who's going to take us through the timeline here. Cody, what do we know about how all of this played out the morning that Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield were killed?
Well, yeah, Vinny, by all accounts, it seemed like a normal morning in February of 2023, but there are some details that come across a little bit suspicious. Now, these details that I'm about to share with you, of course, were obtained by the Washington Post, and they reference what the au pair herself, Juliana Magalhaes, told investigators. So we'll begin with the timeline of Brendan Banfield that morning. Now, again, everyone is home. Brendan, the au pair, and Christine, his wife. February 24th, 2023, at 7:10 a.m., Brendan leaves for McDonald's. Now, according to the au pair, he goes to the McDonald's and sits in the parking lot, doesn't go in, doesn't order food. He's just sitting there in his vehicle. 20 minutes later, 7:30 a.m., Brendan is expected to be at work. He's an IRS agent. 7:37 a.m., Juliana calls Brendan. So, Vinny, let's look at a map of these locations. His work, the McDonald's, the home. The Banfield home, again, is in Herndon, Virginia. The closest McDonald's to the home is about an 8-minute drive away, so not too far. And where he works at the big IRS building in D.C., based on traffic, that's about a 30 minutes to an hour drive. So that's kind of the juxtaposition of these three locations. All right, now let's turn to the timeline of Juliana and Brendan's 4-year-old daughter. Now, she and Brendan's daughter leave soon after he does, a little bit after 7 o'clock in the morning. They were headed for the zoo. Now, the au pair, Juliana, claims she drove back because she forgot their lunches, and that's when she says she saw Joseph Ryan walk into the house. And remember, Christine Banfield is still upstairs asleep in the bedroom. All right, let's look at a map of the house compared to the zoo. Again, the house is in Herndon, Virginia. The zoo they were headed to is the Smithsonian National Zoo in D.C., kind of the big zoo in Washington, D.C. Now, the zoo currently opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, so leaving a little after 7 a.m. isn't too crazy in regards to her story about heading to the zoo. All right, we're going to go back to the timeline here about once Brendan arrives at the home and going inside the house. Now, again, this is what the au pair told investigators, as according to the Washington Post. Brendan returns and goes inside first. Then Juliana goes inside and takes the daughter, the 4-year-old daughter, to the basement. Juliana then follows Brendan upstairs, where, again, Christine was inside, asleep in the bedroom this entire time. Now, here comes the kicker, Vinny. This is the timeline of the 911 calls. 7:47 in the morning, the first 911 call happens. So this is 10 minutes after she calls Brendan when he was at the McDonald's. Dispatchers, the Washington Post quotes, dispatchers heard a guttural moan, then silence. A minute later, 7:48 in the morning, 2 more 911 calls within seconds of each other. Now, here comes the kicker, Vinny. This is about 15 minutes after the first 911 call. 8:02 a.m., that's the final 911 call, and the Post quotes, Magalhaes begged for help, frightened as she described the scene, seemingly too flustered to give an address. Then another voice came onto the phone, Brendan Banfield. And of course, minutes later, officers arrive, seeing that gruesome scene, Vinny.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear on this. Cody, it's 15 minutes between 911 calls?
So there's 3 calls. The first one's made at 7:47. That's the first call. It just lasts a couple seconds. 2 more within seconds of each other are made at 7:48. So that's 3 total. Then 15 minutes before the final 911 call. So we don't know what was going on those 15 minutes, but that's the final one that came at 8:02 in the morning.
Those 15 minutes are crucial.
Absolutely.
Absolutely crucial. All right, Cody's going to stick around. This is unbelievable. You start putting this whole morning together. Brings us to the first question in our investigation. Does this timeline make sense, right? And you can approach this from a couple different ways. For prosecutors, does it make sense? And for the defense, does it make sense, right? The defense saying he's innocent, that he just happened to come upon this guy who was breaking into the house. But there's some time periods here I have a lot of questions about. Need some help. Helping us with our investigation tonight, private investigator Lauren Vellucci and retired police detective, forensic educator, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. Great to have you both here. Okay, Lauren, let's start with heading off to work, okay? He works for the IRS. He leaves at 7, but apparently gets a call at 7:37 and he's still at McDonald's. Wait, yeah, isn't that fast food?
It's supposed to be. It really is. Yeah, this is crazy because that doesn't add up. So this whole case is crazy. They thought that they had it planned out so well, but when they get down to the timeline, everything falls apart. So no, that was not believable, and we'll see as we go on that every other thing that they say too is not believable.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about, okay, I live in Virginia. I work for the IRS. I got to get to work. Yeah, I'm gonna go to McDonald's. Maybe the drive-through. Maybe you go to the drive-through. I mean, if you got to go in and grab something, are you really going to be in the parking lot, you know, a half hour later? I don't know. Maybe I'm unreasonable here. Mike, here's what I want to ask you, Mike. To me, this is significant, right? Because there's an allegation that you have a staged scene here, right? To look like an attack by Joseph Ryan. Those 15 minutes between the 911 calls that don't really connect, those first 3, and then the one that finally gets through and they give him an address, is 15 minutes later. What are your thoughts about what can be done to a crime scene in 15 minutes?
So your question was, does this timeline make sense? And it makes perfect sense. If you've killed somebody and you need time to get your story straight and to do a little cleanup and staging before the police get there, then yes, the timeline is great. There's actually research for analyzing 911 calls. And if you are legit need some help, you're calling 911 and maybe the phone hangs up. That's acceptable. That happens. But to have 2 calls, they both hang up, and then a 15-minute break from their story is they came in, they saw this gentleman stabbing his wife, and they had to shoot him. That would not take more than a few seconds. It takes a second to pull the trigger. But for 15 minutes, and there's no call for help, because remember, 911 call is supposed to be calling for help. And so you go, oh my gosh, my wife is stabbed and she needs help, and you don't call for 15 minutes. So what are you doing in that 15 minutes? Providing medical care and just hoping that an ambulance would show up? No, that 15 minutes is absolutely critical. You could clean up hide weapons, stage bodies. There's no lividity. There's no rigor set in. It's too early right after the death. So you would be able to move those bodies around, clean the weapons. If you needed to clean the weapons for fingerprints, you'd be able to do that in 15 minutes. It wouldn't be perfect, it'd be pretty good.
Here's another problem, Lauren, with the Banfield story. If you believe there's an intruder in your house and you have a small daughter and you have an au pair who's 20-some-odd years old from a foreign country, are you going to put them in the house where the intruder is? Or are you going to get them away from the house where there's potential danger. You are an armed IRS law enforcement agent. That doesn't make sense to me, Lauren. Why he would want his daughter in the house if there's an intruder.
Not one bit. And that is such a great point, Vinny. You're going to tell the ladies, right? She's a young lady, and then you have your precious child who's a little lady to stay outside, maybe even drive to the front of the neighborhood. You don't want them anywhere near something that is going to be potentially dangerous. So the fact that he brought them both in the house and then they left the little young child in the basement, unattended, alone, and went upstairs, the whole thing is ridiculous. That's just not what a man is going to do.
By the way, you live in a beautiful neighborhood in a cul-de-sac. Neighbors look out for each other. You probably know one another. I would send, my babysitter with my child to the neighbor. Go next door. Go to Mr. Jones's house or Miss Johnson's house. Just get out. Have them call the police. Okay. Great news. Lauren and Dr. Mike McCutcheon staying with us. Coming up next, here's another question that needs to be answered. Why did the au pair shoot Joseph Ryan?
Dude, it's breaking her. I don't know. What? It's breaking her. That hurt. I don't know what was that.
My two best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episodes Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Okay, so you live here?
I'm Vinnie. I'm au pair.
You're an au pair? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It was a lot of blood.
So the body cam video you're seeing is just of the au pair, and there she is telling police, I'm the au pair. And the reason you're only seeing her and you're not seeing him, because he left. Because his wife had been stabbed and was transported to the hospital, so he took off with her. So the au pair, Juliana Magalhaes, is the one who is left behind to speak with investigators. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas to walk us through some of this. What do we know about the alleged planning of all of this?
Well, Vinny, as I go through some of the evidence and some of these released exhibits from court documents, it seems as if there's this official plan at play. So we have this photo of Juliana Magalhaes at a gun range. This photo is in the court documents. See her there shooting as anyone would at a gun range. Now, important to note, her and Brendan bought a gun from this gun range, another handgun. We'll get to that in a little second here. Now, according to those same court documents, we know that both Brendan Banfield and Juliana Magalhaes checked into this gun range on 2 different dates in the months leading up before the deaths of Joseph Ryan and Christina Banfield. One date on October 29th of 2022 and the other on December 23rd of 2022. So both of those within 4 months of the 2 alleged killings. Now, take a listen to Juliana on body cam right after everything happened, telling police that she helped shoot Joseph Ryan. Take a listen.
He was saying drop
The knife or the gun?
the gun. And Brendan said, no, police, don't drop the knife. And then he was saying, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her. And I don't know, he started stabbing her. I think Brendan shot him, and he asked me help to shot him too because...
Now, Vinny, remember that gun I mentioned they purchased from the gun range? Important to note here, according to NBC News 4 in Washington, D.C., Magalhaes told detectives that the first shot from Brendan Banfield didn't kill Joseph Ryan. So Banfield told Magalhaes to go get the gun purchased from the range. She did, and she shot Joseph Ryan a second time, ultimately killing him. And Vinny, there was more. Banfield went as far as to soundproof the house. Now, in a police interview obtained by NBC4, Juliana says Brendan was the, quote, mastermind who came up with the plan to stage Christine's murder. Brendan made changes to the house to soundproof it. He put in, quote, very expensive new windows, and she says they tested the noise levels. And Vinnie, I want to take a listen to a portion of that same police interview obtained by NBC4 where Juliana describes instructions to the game that they gave to Joseph Ryan before he arrived. Take a listen to this.
We told other people before that it was kind of part of the game where the person gets in the bedroom and then I may act like scared, like try to run or try to scream, but like, or if the person starts doing something, she would just get kind of freaked out and try to resist, but it was like part of the game.
So, Vinnie, this seems like all the elements of some underlying setup, but of course we don't officially know that. We'll have to wait to see what comes out during the trial in court.
All right, thanks, Cody. She shot Joseph Ryan. He's an armed IRS agent trained. He took her to the shooting range. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did the au pair shoot Joseph Ryan? Why? Still with me, private investigator Lauren Vellucci, retired police detective, forensic educator, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. All right, Dr. Mike McCutcheon, let me ask you, when law enforcement gets trained, do they get trained on how to stop a threat? And as part of the training that you fire once, and then you find a 22-year-old Brazilian au pair to go downstairs and retrieve a gun to finish him off?
Yeah, that's like a basic training. We do that all the time. We find random people to give guns to and say, I'm going to shoot first and then see what happens. I mean, this is just the craziest fake story. This is, again, speculating. We don't know the interaction between the two individuals that were killed. We don't know what their interaction was. And it could have been where he comes in there thinking he's going to be doing some role play, and then he realizes that it's really not. And so he shoots this gentleman, and then the wife is still alive. She's still alive. And so Joseph Ryan needs to be killed. And so he says, hey, you need to kill Mr. Ryan. I'm going to end up killing my wife because we can't shoot her because that way it won't fit our story. So my speculation is he injured Mr. Ryan, and then he needed to kill his wife so that it can look like this Mr. Ryan was stabbing her. And so the au pair then had to finish him off because maybe he was still alive, maybe he was fighting. Certainly he may have been fighting for his life. So I think that the reason why she did, I mean, certainly it's crazy if, as soon as you thought there was somebody in your house, you'd say, go call 911. I'm going to go in and check this out. So, I mean, the story is just ridiculous to start with. But I do think that time frame there is because they had two people to kill, and he couldn't kill them both, and one had to specifically be stabbed to death to try to fit their narrative of this person breaking in.
Now, Lauren Vellucci, you're too young for this, but in the Andy Griffith Show, Deputy Barney Fife would be given only one bullet by the sheriff, and he had it in his pocket. That's the only scenario where you would need the au pair to finish the threat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insanity. Just shoot one more time. What do you think was his real game plan here for why he had the au pair finish off Joseph Ryan?
Well, given the fact that he cared no cares for his child, I think that it was most likely because if something went down, they didn't get away with this murder, he had her to fall back on because he wanted her to take a shot at him too. That made her complicit and a murderer as well. So he could possibly blame it on her. I just think she flipped faster than him. And I really, truly do. He took her to the gun range to practice shootings. She knew nothing about that prior. And like you said, there was absolutely no reason for her to have to shoot him. And he was there murdering his wife, stabbing her in front of Juliana, and she still went through with this. So I don't know if there was some manipulation going on there. I'm not giving her a pass or any sympathy, but definitely more to, behind the scenes, I think, in both of their brains than we know about.
The other thing here, Mike, when we talk about the timing of that morning, is that if he's at the McDonald's parking lot, it's going to take some time to get back to the house. She's not calling until he enters the house. I mean, there's time for him to actually go upstairs and confront Christine, who is sleeping. I mean, there's a lot of things in this plan that could have gone really south very quickly. What are your thoughts about all of that? Does that make his plan, his story, less believable, more believable?
His story is not believable at all. Like, we put this in a real life scenario. I've been called to hundreds of calls where somebody calls the police and says, I think someone's in my house. And I don't say, okay, well, find a 22-year-old, get a gun and head on inside. They say, I am outside. I'm at my neighbor's house. If this played out like they said it really did, and she says, oh, I pull up and I think there's somebody in the house, as a law enforcement officer, he'd say, do not go in. Call 911 right now, and I'm on my way. Like, he's going to want backup as well, because he wouldn't want to go in there if he didn't have to. I mean, certainly if he thought his wife was in danger and he's going in, fine. But come on.
You just turned on a light bulb over my head, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. The 911 call needs to be made at the time that the au pair calls him. That's like the first thing you do. Incredible. Yes. That's why we have you guys
on.
Get
out of the house.
That's why we have you guys on. Dr. Mike McCutcheon, Lauren Vellucci, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Still to come, why did the au pair get such a sweet deal? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the alleged murder plot of Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, who died one morning as the result of extreme violence. And prosecutors say it was all a twisted plot by an armed IRS agent who wanted to share his bed with a young Brazilian au pair instead of his wife, who is the mother of his 4-year-old child. Here's the story. Brendan Banfield, a former IRS criminal investigator, is accused of masterminding a twisted and calculated plot to murder his wife, Christine Banfield, inside their Herndon, Virginia home. Prosecutors allege that Brendan, seeking to escape his marriage and pursue a secret affair with the family's Brazilian au pair, Juliana Magalhaes, posed online as Christine to lure a man named Joseph Ryan under false pretenses of a sexual encounter. Once Joseph Ryan arrived, Brendan allegedly shot him in the head, then turned the knife on his own wife, stabbing her to death. The au pair, who later pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, claimed she participated under Brendan's influence. Authorities say the murder scene was staged, but Brendan maintains his innocence. Was this a chilling act of betrayal, seduction, and premeditated violence fueled by lust and deception? Or is the husband the victim of a lying au pair lover? The murder trial is set for October of 2025. And the star witness in this trial that's coming up is the au pair. She is going to be the star witness. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas to talk about the au pair's statements. How has her story changed?
Well, Vinnie, of course, we know elements to her original story. We've seen footage of the body cam where she's looking disheveled. You see it on your screen right now. She's seemingly crying, acting emotional, talking about this random car out in front of the house. Let's take a look at a portion of that body cam to revisit some of that initial story to police.
sitting over there?
And then I forgot our lunch to bring it. And I was coming back to the house to get the lunch.
Try to get you some water? Yeah.
He was saying drop
the knife or the gun?
The gun. And Brendan said, no, police, don't drop the knife. And he was saying, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her. And I don't know, he stabbed her, he started stabbing her. I think Brendan shot him, and he asked me help to shot him too because...
So, Vinnie, all of that went down February of 2023. She doesn't get arrested until October of 2023, 8 months later between those months there. But now, when she gets arrested and sits down officially with police in a real sit-down interview, her story flips. There's no more home invasion anymore. And in reporting, according to the Washington Post, they quote her initial story as we just heard her there. It says, quote, she and Banfield had told police that after Banfield initially interrupted the supposed home invasion by Ryan and shot him once, Ryan was still alive and Magalhaes then fired the fatal shot. Then, quote, in October, Magalhaes sat down with police and prosecutors and provided a lengthy statement recanting the claim of a home invasion, court records show. She said Brendan Banfield had planned the killings and arranged for Ryan to appear at the house with a knife as a result of online discussions the two men previously had. And then, Vinnie, according to WRC-TV in Washington, D.C., News 4 has now learned that in October, Magalhaes confessed to prosecutors and detectives that Brendan Banfield constructed the entire double murder plot and that he even intentionally planned to bring his young child into the home. Now, Vinnie, I want to take a listen to that police interview that was obtained by NBC4 in Washington, D.C., where Magalhaes says on camera that this whole thing was Brendan Banfield's idea. Take a listen.
Then I asked him, we're going to force her. He said, that's not what I'm thinking about. And then he explained that he was thinking about finding a way to just get rid of her.
Now, Vinnie, after this police interview, Magalhaes strikes this sweetheart deal. And as according to the Post, it says, quote, Juliana Magalhaes, 24, who had been charged with second-degree murder in the case, which drew international attention, pleaded guilty to a manslaughter charge. In exchange for her cooperation, prosecutors agreed to recommend that she be released on time served after the trial of her employer being Brendan Banfield. So, Vinnie, once his trial is over, Magalhaes is walking free.
She gets out. Unbelievable. All right. Cody, thanks so much. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did the au pair get such a sweet deal? Here to help us tonight, criminal defense attorney, host of the Defense Diaries, Bob Mata is with us, and Hampton, Virginia Commonwealth's attorney, Anton Bell is with us as well. All right, Anton, I want to begin with you. What are your thoughts about this sweetheart deal? She testifies, she gets out, probably goes back to Brazil.
Good evening, Vinny. So in Hampton, that would not have happened. You would not have been a part of a conspiracy plot to kill two innocent people intentionally, deliberately, and premeditated, and get a sweetheart deal of manslaughter, which carries a penalty of 1 to 10 years. That's it. And so a judge can potentially give her 1 year based on the charge that she pled to, wherein you have Brendan Banfield, who's charged with aggravated murder, that carries a life penalty. And he's charged with multiple counts of that. That would not have happened.
Bob Mata, why do you think the au pair got such a sweet deal here?
I think it's pretty simple. I mean, the bottom line is Brendan's a target, and frankly, Perez, she's the only one who's alive that can testify that Brendan told her that he wanted to, quote, be rid of his wife, right? So, and that he orchestrated the entire plot. And the problem is if they don't give her that deal, okay, that means that she has her own trial, Vinny, and you know what that means. That means that she's got a Fifth Amendment right. She doesn't have to get on that stand, and she doesn't have to testify. And it would be the same thing if they tried to pull her in during his trial, okay? So when they give her this deal, it changes everything for the prosecutor. She then flips. She becomes a state witness. And additionally, I had read a story that Banfield's mother had bankrolled her defense. So once this deal was put into place, that ended, and it gave the state the ability to be able to put her on as the key witness in their case against Brendan. So for them, I think in terms of him being the target, he's the IRS agent. They kind of waited. They said, who do we really want to get here? Who's really the bad guy? Is it the 24-year-old au pair, or is it the IRS agent who plotted to kill his wife? I think that they ultimately landed on that. And they think that, at the end of the day, is probably worth that sweetheart deal that they had to give her in order to get her to testify.
Yeah. Anton, how do you get the jury to trust her testimony if you're the prosecutor here?
You can't. You can't. That's the problem, because if I was the defense attorney, all I would do is roll the body cam footage and let them hear how she, the innocent person in this entire conspiracy theory, she was able to, without any coercion and without any type of direction from anyone, was to give a narrative that's totally different than a narrative that she gave to the police once she cut this sweetheart deal. And here's the problem with this. I've prosecuted many conspiracy cases where there are multiple suspects and multiple defendants who had either equal parts in a murder, or one may have had a primary part and one may have had a subsequent part. She could have been charged as a principal in the second degree, and they could have still, based upon the telephone calls, the 911, the online database that set up the young man, Ryan, to come to the home. All of these things, they do not make sense that she is not a part of it, particularly given the fact that you would have called 911 if you really thought that someone was in the house and someone was trying to hurt the wife. The wife, she called the husband, who should have been at work at 7:30 in the morning. So all of these things, you could have put a puzzle together and you could have gotten the conviction for both of them.
All right, our guests are staying with us. Coming up next, is Brendan Banfield's alleged motive clear?
The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has secured an indictment against Brendan Banfield.
4 dead students.
None of it seemed to make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Killer. New season premieres Saturday, October 25th, only on Court TV.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that due to the hard work of police and prosecutors, the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has secured an indictment against Brendan Banfield for the murder of his wife, Christine, and the murder of Mr. Ryan.
It took a while for all that to happen, but it finally did. The au pair flipped. She's going to testify as the star witness. This trial is coming up here on Court TV. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas to explain more here. What do we know about their behavior, Banfield and the au pair, before, during, and after these murders?
Well, Vinny, this is where I think it's going to get a little bit dicey for Mr. Banfield here once his trial comes along. Let's take a look at these photos. These photos were taken about a month before the killings happened. Now, that's Magalhaes in the front. That's the au pair. That looks like him in the back. He's covered up with the face. You know, some people do that on social media when they post publicly. But these are pictures of them two, again, a month before these killings happened. So you see they're a little bit closer than, you know, one would expect a married man to be to someone who's not his wife. Now, Vinny, I want to mention this reporting from NBC4 citing Juliana's police interview regarding Brendan stabbing his wife, Christine. These are her words. It says, quote, "He was stabbing her and she was just telling him, 'Let me go. I'm going to die anyways. I'm going to bleed to death,' Perez said. She was just, 'Leave me here. Let me die.' And he was telling her, 'I can't.' I don't know why he said, 'I can't.'" And of course, we know Christine Banfield was stabbed multiple times in different parts of her body, according to police. So Vinny, now let's get into their behavior after, in the months after these alleged killings happened. Let's take a look at this photo from the court documents. This photo here is of the au pair's room in, well, we're going back. Where the photo here is of the framed picture of Brendan Banfield and the au pair. That is on the nightstand in the master bedroom. Now, this man's wife, at this point in time, has just gotten brutally killed, and he says he didn't do it, but yet, you know, in the months after, the weeks after, he has this framed picture of him and the au pair on the master bedroom nightstand. Now we move along to the photo we were just looking at of the room and closet of the au pair in the house, Banfield's house where she was staying. Now, if we look on the left, you can see we highlighted a Brazil soccer jersey to match on the right the Brazil flag hanging over her bed. And we have another red shirt hanging there. That's her closet in the room that she was in February. This is February of 2023. Now we fast forward to October of 2023. 8 months later, this is the master bedroom closet. You can see there a little bit on the right, there's that Brazilian jersey, that soccer jersey, and down below, there's that red and black shirt. This now her clothes have been moved to the master bedroom. Again, this is just months after these brutal killings happened. And now, Vinny, this is reporting from the Washington Post yet again. This is quoting the au pair's attorney. It says, quote, "In multiple hearings, Magalhaes' attorney sought to minimize their relationship, saying in court that intimate encounters with the husband were casual and that Magalhaes was on dating apps." Now that's according to her attorney, says that nothing was going on in any kind of serious, intimate manner, and she was in fact on dating apps looking around at other people.
So they're not exclusive. That's a twist. I wasn't expecting that. All right, Cody Thomas, great work as always. Thank you so much. How about that? She's on dating apps. So to me, that sort of makes things a little fuzzy in my mind, and it brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Brendan Banfield's alleged motive clear? If the woman he's with afterwards, who helped him with all this, is also on a dating apps and wasn't so serious about it, what is going on here? Still with me, criminal defense attorney, host of Defense Diaries, Bob Mata, and Hampton, Virginia Commonwealth's attorney, Anton Bell. All right, let me ask you, Bob, what do you think? Is it clear? Did he murder, allegedly, right? And this is the alleged motive. Would he have killed his wife to be with the au pair? Or did he just not want to be with his wife and he used the au pair and she was there, so why not jump in the hot tub with her?
I think it was both. I think it was greed and lust. You know, I mean, in terms of he was in the extramarital affair, we don't know if he was aware that she was on dating websites. You know, the bottom line is that he wanted to be rid of his wife. You know, but the thing was that he just didn't want out of his marriage. He clearly wanted to avoid a messy divorce, losing assets, avoid a custody battle over their 4-year-old daughter. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I mean, the murder was his way to establish a new life for himself so that he could have everything, the new relationship, keep his money, keep his kid, play the victim. It's kind of like the ultimate have your cake and eat it too situation.
Anton, let me ask you, how clear to you is the motive here, and how important will it be at the trial?
So I believe the motive is very clear. I agree with Bob in that the fact that she's on a dating app doesn't indicate whether that relationship was an exclusive for him, because he may not have known that she was on a dating app. And so he thought that he was going to be in this relationship with her. Clearly, if her clothes are now in the master bedroom, there's a photo of them that's in the master bedroom. And so there's some level of intimacy, at least from his vantage point, in which he believed that he thought that this was the next for him. And so I think based upon the complexity of the conspiracy and the fact that they went through all of these things to execute this conspiracy to the point that she even pulled the trigger herself, trained her how to shoot, and then she pulled the trigger. It's clear that the two of them were in a relationship together and he wanted out. And so this was his way of getting out.
All right, Bob, how would you evaluate the cases here for both sides?
I mean, as far as the state's case, I think it's pretty strong. And again, bolstered by her testimony. She's clearly the star witness. She's going to be able to lay out the entire plot. You know, and one thing that I want to touch upon that Anton and I were both talking about with respect to this dating profile, why are we not automatically assuming, because remember, this was a guy who created a profile on a fetish website to set this whole thing up. I mean, if he's so devious, why wouldn't he have just set up a fake dating profile so that it could be like, oh, like she was dating other people. Like she had nothing to do with me. I mean, let's just think about it in reality. I think the state's case is very strong. I think the defense is up against it. I mean, they're going to have to basically try to point the finger. To go back to Anton's point, you're going to say, look, she did all this. And then she turned around and got a sweetheart deal. And, you know, she's trying to pin it on me. Poor old IRS agent. You know, I lost my wife. What a terrible occurrence for me. Oh, woe was me. I mean, I think that's the defense's approach. If you're going to get, you know, you got to point the fingers. It's one of these things. So, you know, but I think ultimately, as we always say here on Court TV, when these cases are still pending, he's alleged to have done it. I think the state has a pretty tight case, though.
Yeah, got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, like Anton does all the time. Thank you both so much for joining us. I really appreciate Bob Mata, Anton Bell. All right, in this case, there is so much to talk about, so much to get to. But at the end of the day, there is this little girl, right? You've got a little girl who doesn't have her mom anymore. And for me, there needs to be a big focus on that for this jury, to understand that this isn't, yes, there's going to be all this salacious stuff, but at the end of the day, this is about a little girl who doesn't grow up with her mommy. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.